Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to cover part 2 of our 3-part series of crucial, high priority items every RVer should be carrying with them at all times. It doesn't matter whether you have a pull-behind trailer, a fifth wheel, a motorhome, or a toy hauler, it doesn't matter. These are very important things. We're going to cover that right now. Coming up on RV Street. Okay, let's get right to it. If you have not watched part 1, be sure to go watch that. It is packed with some really good information. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, next. And again, I'm going to combine a few things in this because they all kind of interlock together. In Martin's book, the most important thing out of all these things is a TPMS system, a tire pressure monitoring system. Very important. This is your house. You're carrying everything you got in there. Plus you're carrying usually a tow vehicle. If you have a trailer, a pull-behind trailer, you have your truck, some kind of vehicle there that you're pulling it with, and it more than likely has a built-in TPMS system in it, but the trailer doesn't. Same thing applies to a fifth wheel. You want all tires, when you're going down the freeway, to be monitored for proper pressure. Now, you may leave the campground or your house or wherever you're leaving and everything's good. You just checked your air pressure, everything's good, right? But then you go down the highway and you pick up a nail or a piece of metal or a valve stem comes loose or something. And all of a sudden now one of your tires starts to lose air. I know a lot of you have seen what happens to the side of a coach or a fifth wheel when a tire goes out. It ain't pretty, and it ain't cheap either. This TPMS system is what we got. I studied long and hard about which one to get, but I chose this one for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's easy to set up, to pair the sensors. It has the largest screen available, and the customer service is awesome. I particularly lean towards the big screen feature because, you know what, when you get older, you don't see as well as you used to. One thing I really love about this Easy Tire TPMS is the size of the monitor. Joanie's put her phone up here to give you an idea of the size of this screen. It is huge. And as far as I know, it's the largest screen on the market. So let's just say you've checked your air before you leave. Everything's good to go. You go out, you get on the highway, and you pick up a piece of metal or a nail or what have you, and all of a sudden now, let's just take for example, your outside dually starts losing air, and it's slowly going down. It's going to get to the point where the monitoring system is going to alert you. The audio alarm is going to go off. The visual red dot is going to be blinking, telling you there's something wrong, and that's going to give you time to pull over and take care of the situation. If you did not have this, you would not know that is happening. You would continue down the road, the tire would continue to deflate, and after it deflates to the point where it's putting more pressure on the other tire, that's when bad things happen. Now, because I feel this is such an important item, I'm going to elaborate on this. So let me tell you a quick story. We have a friend of ours. Hi, Charlie. He and his wife, great people. They've been full-timing for 8 years. They don't tow 4 down. They tow their tow car on a dolly, okay? Never had an issue in 8 years. And one day, just recently, like I think about a year ago, they're going down the highway and here comes the guy in the car going, "Hey, you got something going on. Pull over, pull over." Charlie's like, "What the heck's going on?" He pulls over and his tire was totally off the rim and he was running on the rim on the dolly, okay? And when he told me the story, I said, "Charlie," I said, "didn't you have a TPMS system?" And he said, "I do now." So I'm going to show you what I do. We have a motorhome that has 6 tires on it and our tow vehicle, which has 4 tires, total 10 tires. When I bought the Easy TPMS system, I bought 10 sensors, the monitor, And I also bought the booster. I'll explain that in a minute. But here's what I did with all the sensors. These sensors, you can see how big they are. They're not very big at all. And this system comes with two types of sensors. Either they're fill through or these type. I have no use for the fill throughs. I think it's, the thing is that they make them so big. These screw onto the stem of your tire. And when you have the fill throughs, they stick way out. And I don't like all that weight wobbling around the tire. I use these small sensors, but look here what I've also done. I've numbered each one of them. So I have 1 through 10, and I start with 1. If you see the diagram here, I start with 1 on the passenger, 2 on the driver, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that way, when I program this is, and that's another reason, these things are so easy to program. You program these sensors one at a time through the menu. This is number 1, this is number 2, and so on. Then I made a little emblem. I printed it out on my printer, cut them out, and I put them on each sensor, and I sealed it with clear nail polish to protect it. So now, at any given time, I have my tires changed. Like for example, here in Maine, we're here for 3 months. I don't need to have my sensors on the tow car. I take them off and I put them in a bag, throw them in the box. When we get ready to leave here, I'll put those sensors back on, and because they're numbered, they'll go on exactly the right place. So that way, when I'm going down the road and I see a certain sensor come on, that there's something wrong, I know exactly what tire it is. Another quick little thing about this Easy Tire TPMS, this is how, inside here you have a little tiny flat battery. I forget the number, but this is the wrench. And you put this wrench right on here like this, and you unscrew them, and it's got an O-ring around there that keeps them watertight. But this is how you change the battery in here. And these are the batteries right here. You can see they're small, little tiny batteries. Okay, and these batteries, by the way, they last about 2 or 3 years. It's incredible. I think since we've had our system, we've had ours now almost 4 years, and I think I've changed maybe 4 or 5 sensors, the batteries in 4 or 5 sensors. So these last a long time. And of course, you got to carry spares. And this is what it looks like on the tire itself. So as you can see, this is the passenger front tire on the motorhome, and it rotates from the fronts to the rears, and the number to the left is showing the PSI in each tire, and the right digital number is showing you the temperature of the tire. And it'll alternate and rotate through all 6 of the tires on the motorhome and then go to the tow vehicle. If you have a coach that's 35 feet or longer and you're towing, like us, we're 54 feet long while we're towing. And when you get into places where there's a lot of buildings or mountains, where you get a lot of potential interference from the sensors talking to the monitor, you need to install a booster. Most everybody that has a longer coach like this has a booster, and you put it in the back of the coach. Here's a little clip that I also did yesterday that explains where I put the booster. So as we're going through mountains or whatever, if we get any interference, I want to make sure that the sensors in the car tow vehicle are being able to communicate right with the monitor up front in the motorhome cab. So it's always a good thing. If you've got a 35-foot motorhome or longer and you're towing, you want to put in a booster. A booster is very easy to install. It's 12 volt. You just have to find a light to tie into. That's what most people do. So they'll either find one here in their closet, or like I did, I went all the way to the back bathroom and I tied it into the bathroom light. You see that up there? This is the way I can even see it in the mirror. You see it up there, right here? So all I had to do was remove this fixture right here, okay? Undo these 4 screws, drop this fixture down, take the booster, has 2 wires on it, connect the 2 wires to the light switch, put the cap back on, and every time we get underway, all we do is flip on the light. With the light off, there's no power to it. But when we get ready to get underway, one of the last things we do is we turn on the light. That sends power to the booster, and this booster makes sure it's got a strong signal in the back of the motorhome so the tow vehicle can communicate. And we have never ever had a problem with the tow vehicle communicating with this booster. So this is something that you want to have if you have a 35-foot coach or longer and you're towing. So if you have a long RV, a towable trailer, or a fifth wheel, or a motorhome, doesn't matter. If your tires are way back there and you don't want to run any risk of there being interference, these two talking together while you're underway, just install the booster. It's a 12 volt, it's cheap and easy to install. So in summary, having a TPMS system is an absolute critical must-have thing. And again, I'll have links to all this down below. You don't need to be taking notes on this. Okay, so since we just got through talking about TPMS and monitoring your air pressure in your tires, we have to talk about an air compressor. Now, there are two types of air compressors. You can have a tank type air compressor. I used to have one in my garage, had all my tools, worked on stuff all the time. But a tank air compressor will gather condensation and water in the tank. So when you go to fill up your tires or whatever you're doing, it is going to be bringing water into the tires, unless you have a dryer system, which I had on mine at the house. But when you're full timing and RVing, you need, again, something with a small footprint, something that is lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of room, and I have chosen the RVer air compressor. It's a tankless. Let's take a look at it. It's 12 volt. You see how small that thing is? It has a positive and a negative alligator clip, and you just attach these to your battery. Okay, 12 volt. As you can see, it's tankless. It has no tank. And you're going to be getting nice dry air. It also goes up to 150 psi, and you're not going to need anything more than that on an RV. So when I was getting ready to do this video, I went to check and see if there has been any changes done to this RVer unit since I bought mine 4 years ago. And in fact, there has been some small changes. So let me bring you up to date. When I bought my RVer 4 years ago, the model number was RVer 400P RV. It came with two hoses, two air hoses, one there and one here, a large bag, but no inflating gun. But recently, RVer has made a small change to the 400P RV unit. They now have assigned it a new product number. It's RVer 445 400P. Okay? It comes with one hose, one 30-foot hose. It has a smaller bag, since it doesn't come with two hoses, and it does come with its own inflating gun. Now, since it only comes with one 30-foot hose, you can always buy another 30-foot to give you a total of 60 feet if you want. RVer didn't make any changes on the 450P RV. They left that model the same, and that unit comes with two 30-foot air hoses, a larger carrying bag, and it also has its own air inflating gun. Concerning performance, the only difference between these two models is the revised version of what I have now, which is the 400P that I just mentioned. It can run continuously for 15 minutes without having to shut down and cool off. The 450P RV can run an hour before it has to shut down and cool off. And in the entire 4 years I've had this unit right here, I have never ran it more than 15 minutes, and it has never shut down because it got warm. Both units put out 150 psi, and both will be just fine with any type of RV. Now, like I said, I've had this one here for 4 years. I just love this thing. I use it for everything. I use it to put air in the tires for the coach. I use it for the car tires. I use it for my pneumatic grease gun, the bicycles, our pool equipment like a beach ball or a pool floaty. I mean, anything that needs air, this thing will do the job. Both of these units have an automatic shut-off feature. They only come on when you demand air. Once you stop demanding air, they shut off automatically. This is a great feature. Now, even though both of these units now come with their own air inflating gun, I would still use my digital air inflating gun. And here's why. You can see right here, it's run on 2 AAA batteries. They go right in here. You turn it on. You hook up the hose to the back here. And the end of this hose has a locking device, so when you put it on the stem, it locks in place right on the stem. And then you just begin to give it air, and it'll show it out digitally, a point at a time. For example, 82.2, 82.3, 82.4. I mean, it very minutely gives increments of the amount of air you're putting in. And I'm going to tell you, this thing is so accurate that when I turn on my TPMS system, that system matches exactly what this gun puts in. I had this gun when I had my house and all my tools then, and I'm like, you know what, I'm keeping this thing. So even if this unit came with its own inflating gun like it does now, I still would have been using this. Now some of you, I know you watch these videos, you're wondering, Martin, what's that orange thing on the bottom there? When I had my air compressor, my tank air compressor, I had a big air compressor at the house, and I had a drying system and all that. But as a secondary precaution, whenever I loaded up my hose to the gun, I put this secondary type of protection. It's a dryer right here. It's a pebble type of a dryer. So I've just left it on there. I hook up my hose right to here, and I'm good to go. So I'm a big believer in this digital readout. This thing is exact what you're putting in. Another couple tips about air compressors. Do not go to a gas station or convenience store or someplace like that and use those that you pay 50, 75 cents or whatever. Number one, they never will put out enough pressure that you need. They usually will only go up to maybe 60, 65, maybe 70 pounds if you're lucky. And they're all locked in behind a box. You can't drain out the condensation and water that's accumulated into the tank. And you don't want, again, to be putting water or condensation in your tires. So nix that. You don't want to do that. The benefits of having an air compressor on board is because it's with you at all times in an emergency. If you are going down the highway and you pick up a nail or something and you're losing air, you have right on board the ability to get more air in that tire so you can limp along and get to a place where you can have that tire repaired or replaced. There's an example of a fella just a couple months ago. He was sitting in the park. He drove in, he came in at night, set up camp, everything's fine. The next morning he gets out, he's got a flat tire. He didn't have an air compressor. And he was going to call and have somebody come out and fill up his tire so he could get to a tire shop and all that. And I saw him out there filling around, and I went over and said, what's going on? My tire's flat. I brought him the RVer, and we got him to where he was inflated and he could get that tire fixed. Okay, this video would not be complete unless I actually show you how to hook up this RVer air compressor. So come on. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook it up to the battery. So in the battery bay here I have 2 alligator clips from the air compressor. The positive is going to go on the positive post. The negative is going to go on the negative post. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, remember my pads, save my knees. So I get on my pad, and here's how I've hooked this up, okay? Here's the cable going to the batteries. Here's the air compressor, and I've put the hose on here. I only need to use one hose for this demonstration. And here's the on and off button, right here, okay? So it's going to build up pressure, and there you are. We are totally loaded with pressure now. Here is my digital air inflating gun, and you have to turn it on. You see that right there? You have to turn it on, and this tip now will lock right on that stem. And you can see I currently have 84.5, so I pull the trigger. I mean, you can see you can add just a hair, or you can add a lot. And after that, it'll build up pressure and shut off automatically. Now let's say you've over inflated a tire and you need to let some air out. You pull the trigger just a little bit. You see that? Isn't that cool? So full compression on the trigger to add air, and a half pull to release air. To me, this system for an RV is the best on the market. There just, in my opinion, is no better. Okay, so that pretty well wraps it up for this second part of critical, high priority things every RVer should be carrying with them at all times. And as I said in the beginning of this video, a TPMS and an air compressor in my world are like top of the list. If you'll go to the top of the page where the video is, right underneath there you'll see show more. Click that, scroll down, and I'm going to have links to everything we discussed here right there. Oh, and don't forget, next week is going to be part 3. There's going to be some more really, really important things there. You're not going to want to miss it, so stay tuned. We release it every Sunday night at 8:30, so we'll see you there. So as usual, guys, if you liked this video, if it was helpful, it's like, wow, Martin, that was really good information, give me a like button and give me some comments, because when I see those things, I'm like, okay, they like these kind of videos. I'll do more of them. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing and ring the bell off to the right so you'll be notified the next time we upload our next video. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Until next time, this is RV Street. Stick around.